I've never summoned a demon before. This should be alright. Oh, it's escaping. So where's it gonna run off to? Oh no. It's eating one of my followers. Oh god. Cultist Simulator is a first for me, as I've never really been into card games. My experience is as follows. I had some Pokemon cards in the 90s, but no one really knew how to play Pokemon. The rules of the card game seemed a lot more complicated than the video game, so everyone I knew just traded and collected them. So not really playing a card game. Later on there was Yu-Gi-Oh, which I did understand. I knew a lot of kids who played that. We even had this one kid who never wanted to play but just made the life point sounds. I don't even think he went to our school. Many years later I found out about Magic the Gathering. I don't know much about that one either. The guy who told me about it showed me his thousands and thousands of cards in bins, and then he said, I can't use these anymore. They're out of season. That seemed too pricey for me. Then cut to spring when I made the Sunless Sea video. A developer reached out and said, hey, the lead writer for Sunless Sea is working on our new game. Do you want a review copy? I get these offers from time to time, so I said, yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it. I'm not sure I'll make a video, but what's this game all about? Oh, it's a card game. I don't know much about these. But then in the months that followed, more and more people started recommending it to me, and I realized this wouldn't be a typical card game. So full disclosure, this is the first video I've ever done with a review copy, even if it is half a year later. So let's get right into it. The game starts off with a nearly identical warning to Sunless Sea. Explore, take risks. But now there's no captain warning. Instead, you won't always know what to do next. Keep experimenting, and you'll master it. I didn't understand what I was in for. There's a bird and worm option in the menu. It lets you choose between bird and worm. Self-explanatory. Okay, let's go. Alright, here it is. Alright, there's an empty space, and it's for... Right, I'm gonna drag the card into it. This game doesn't have much of a tutorial to speak of. Like the intro said, you need to experiment. The tiles are verbs, the cards are nouns. So the early game is about figuring out what actions you can take with which cards. It's also the mid-game, and the late game. Can I do it? No, I'm dead. Let's talk about some other aspects before getting into the gameplay mechanics. I really enjoy the look of the game. It's a minimalist art style that's easy to read, which is good for a card game with this many moving parts. Trust me, the board can get very busy. The minimalism helps out here, since if the cards were all very detailed and intricate, then you'd look at the board and probably go crazy from all the visual noise. Plus, since cards can be used for multiple uses, it makes them easier to categorize. That isn't to say it's so minimalistic it lacks a style, because I like the art style a lot. This is a game about forming a cult and trying to know the unknowable, and the board reflects that. Sometimes your actions will cause strange, esoteric images to burn onto the mat before vanishing. It also helps to establish its setting as vaguely early 1900s. In particular, the characters remind me of coffee shop wall favorite Henri Matisse. It could be a coincidence, but it fits the setting. There's a weird visual mysticism to everything. It's like having a fuzzy view of a dream, which is appropriate since dreaming is a big part of the game. The only thing off-putting to me is that the table sits inside of an abyss. Thematically it makes sense, and you'll be staring at the board 99% of the time anyhow. But I don't know, some candles would be nice, Scientology pamphlets, some multi-level marketing oils, just something. It's more of a nitpick. The sound design is also great with strange chanting, rotating gears, and ticking clocks. Then there's the music. It's excellent, and you start to learn to fear certain songs. Oh no. So the result is that the game is very atmospheric. I never thought I'd say that talking about a card game. As for the story, you mainly create it yourself since there are multiple ways to win. Maybe you seek ultimate knowledge. Maybe you want to learn how to change your form. Hell, maybe you want to forget the cult stuff entirely and just get a nice desk job. There are several different ways to progress rather than just one way forward. The world and its lore are established, but it's very fragmented. A lot of it is very abstract but rich. It's possible that there is a grand timeline and shaping of the world and all that, but I just haven't found it yet. Or there could be none at all. The game is described as Lovecraftian, and I agree. A lot of people like the phrase show don't tell, but Lovecraft was more tell don't show, but he was really damn good at telling. Just don't read that one book. The writing in the game is awesome, as expected. Creepy with light touches of humor. I've played a few other games Alexis Kennedy wrote for, and this is by far his best work. He's really good at generating intrigue and creating a tone. His writing about despair and depression is so accurate that I think it can only come from a place of experience. I mean, Jesus. So the writing is also great, and I've got no issues with it. I don't really consider this limiting for a video game since creepy writing can stick with you. Even the Call of Cthulhu game would utilize that from time to time. So on to the big question, which Lovecraft story does this remind me of? I got them all right here. Oh shit, surprise, it's The King in Yellow. Like I said before, the nature of the game is very open-ended. It's not pulling inspiration from one material in particular, and it's coming up with a lot of stuff on its own as well. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty technicalities of the writing since I don't think that's what you came here for, but rather I want to talk about the narrative. So, some spoilers for the short story The Repair of Reputations. It's about someone involved in a strange occult conspiracy. The character, named Hildred, believes he's the last heir to a supernatural race that lived beyond our stars and also was on Earth long ago. So he's beginning his moves to gain ultimate power and making his brother abdicate the throne. Or maybe not. Hildred fell off a horse, breaking a leg and getting a side of brain damage, and he might not be thinking clearly. He's searching and taking actions to achieve ultimate power, but he might be in the wrong direction, or just wrong entirely. You're along for the ride when he's looking at old maps, old books, and trying to find out the secrets of his ancestry. But at the same time, you wonder if he's completely delusional and doesn't know what he's doing. Cultist Simulator gave me that feeling. A lot. It took over a dozen hours of playing until I won my first game as a cultist. This is what makes talking about the mechanics difficult. Figuring out the mechanics and even how to progress at all is the game. A guide to how all the mechanics work is essentially spoilers. At the same time, I can't say nothing. So I'm going to be saying a lot of what you can do in the game, but not a lot of how. I'll go a bit more into detail on early game stuff, but that's it. I'm not going to go through the symbols step by step or tell you secrets from beyond the colors of time. Alright, let's start with the basics. This might be too far. I think I went too far. Your priority above everything is survival, so you start off working to make money. You can use different cards to work different jobs, and these relate to a kind of stat system. You have your health, your passion, and your reason. Sometimes these cards need to cool down and could be unavailable for a while. Sometimes challenges pop up. If you don't have money or something else to buy medicine if you get sick, you can lose health. In this case, it's permanent. If something bad happens and you have no health cards, you die. So having a health card temporarily unavailable for work could be risky. You can also get a regular job and find ways to advance it and make even more money. If you don't do your job long enough, the card can expire and you risk unemployment. You might also get an awful boss who makes you work unpaid overtime. He burns through your stat cards, talks down to you. Then you start talking about things you shouldn't to that guy by the bridge. Just like real life. The stats can also enhance or are required for certain actions. So it's safe to say that these stats are very important for just about everything you do. There are a few ways to increase your stats. It's only a few minutes at first, but the time investment gets longer the higher you want your skills to go. We'll come back to this in a little bit. There are a lot of ways to lose. Suicide by depression, getting arrested, going crazy, and you will die a lot early on because you won't know how to prepare for it. However, when you play a new game, you play as a different character. So you can die as a student of the occult, but decide to play as a detective this time around. You have a special job for it and everything. You start with a case file on your last character. It's almost like you were playing the prologue to the story and didn't know it. Yeah, let's reopen the Frederick case. What was that guy all about? That was a mistake. Well, now I'm the doctor who had to deal with him. Maybe I can find out why his case drove him crazy. All the legacies have different starting stats, and their own positives and drawbacks. One character can start out rich, but utterly stupid. An aspirant has a goal of founding a cult, but very little power starting off. A detective has a demanding job and needs to find all the knowledge on their own. Plus, you're sending your potential future followers to prison. But if you balance it, you could start a cult and then send your rivals into prison. There are also other detective characters launching their own investigations, so hopefully they won't focus on you. If it's not already clear, this game has a lot going on simultaneously. It's not turn-based or point-based, it's just the clock. So you're having to manage your income, and stay alive, and figure out what you're doing all at the same time. This is very tricky, especially early on when you don't even know if you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation. This is where the first problem comes in. The game is going to become more risky and dangerous as time goes on, so it makes sense to start raising your stats at the very start of the game. Once you know how to do it, the first few advancements aren't tricky to pull off or anything, it's just a waiting game. There is a fast forward function which helps, but this is still going to take a while. It's not something intricate, it doesn't trigger any events that I know of, it's just busy work. You can put it off for later, but it becomes much harder when you have so much more to be managing. This is a game where a 2 or 3 minute lapse of judgment can mean game over. Not even getting a few more stats early on is a bad strategy. What about the rich character who only has a single point in health? You'd be crazy not to focus on stats early on. The work stat grind can also get you in a bad mindset of just clicking through everything. Sometimes the writing is changing, but you don't bother to look as much. Some of these verb tiles would really benefit from an auto pause, but I get that that's kind of against the spirit of the game where everything's ticking down and happening at once. But I mean, there's already a pause function. I think it could work well as a difficulty option. Have an option for pause and auto pause for some tiles, then you could have the Jim Jones Deluxe difficulty, or Give Me Cultist Simulator, something like that. That could have no real-time pause function at all, but maybe have some more tidbits of lore, advanced victory conditions, something like that to make it rewarding. Because this is interesting, I want to read this. Oh, a condition changed at work. I'm glad I caught that. I don't want to mindlessly close out of something important, but I don't want to read the same thing over and over again. A Catholic with an untrimmed beard. He's capable of anything. Welcome to the flock. So if you're wondering why I or anyone else would sit to these grindy elements, it's because the game is really, really interesting. There are so many great things about running a cult. Let's see some examples. There are so many kinds of lore to study, and they all have their own special powers and abilities. Let's learn some rituals for the guys to try out. Oh, Victor won't like that one. Maybe we can turn his corpse into some kind of monster. The pigs at the bureau keep trying to incarcerate my people. I think they'd like to meet coked up Lazarus. Oh, damn it, he's seen this before. Our family needs more children. There was that one guy my follower met flicking cigarettes at people by the post office. Yeah, that went well. An entry consultant. Well, a brick is a guest key anywhere. Let's learn the secret places of the earth, and then let's break into them. Seduce that detective. Build a meth lab. Kidnap children. I'm gonna go to bed early. Take this rock. Tell me the future. We'll try again later. You're promoted. Fix the rock. This is all going really well. Yeah, I'll just sell this. I don't think it's important. Wait, did I use that for something? Do you really need the exact ingredients for these rituals? Candles of flesh are expensive, so I got these seasonal ones from Target instead. Now I need to draw a pentagram. Nailed it. Where's the cursed object? Yeah, this'll probably work. I think I'm good to go. What was this for? I guess I'm just really impressed by the sheer amount of stuff you can do. A lot of issues I had were features I just haven't found yet. This lore is useless this playthrough. I guess not, I can make some money off of it. These expeditions seem like a lot of RNG. No, I wasn't reading it carefully and didn't make some connections. All my followers had stats I needed to understand. The rewards only scale by difficulty and they are random. Named followers have set personalities and affinities, so their stats aren't randomized and I can figure out which ones would help with which playthroughs. Can I attract certain ones? No, that's RNG. There's a lot you can do to influence the game, but some aspects are completely RNG. Due to the nature of the game, I don't think that should go away entirely. I do wish you could make sacrifices to influence the numbers. Maybe you could sacrifice a high level of lore to attract a follower of it. Or you could go about it the normal way and just cross your fingers. This is something that becomes more annoying once you have more of the game figured out. You know exactly what you need to progress, but now you hope the RNG gods are in your favor. Thankfully, this is something that's being fixed, at least when it comes to expeditions, so consider this a temporary issue. As intricate as it all is, it's clear there's areas like this that still require some work to be done. After I won a few games, I decided to pick up the DLC since it was only $3. Sure, I want to see more. You play as a dancer and your work is related directly to the cult. The main game separates them, so this is new. There are new paths to take and areas to explore which are challenging but not RNG frustration. Like I said before, I like that you can make money while also advancing in the cult. When I saw the HQ card, I thought that maybe the cultists could work for me. Unfortunately not, since the HQ is another one of those things that needs to be developed out more. It doesn't do much. Every time I lost the game, it did feel frustrating, but I kept going back to play it again. The more I got a grip on the mechanics and how the game played, the more prepared I was for the next one. The endings revealed more about the world and the lore, which was satisfying. I still haven't beaten about half of them, so I could be missing out. Despite its more frustrating and grindy elements, I would really recommend Cultist Simulator. This is a game that's truly original in what it's doing. I can very safely say I've played nothing like this before. If you are on the fence about some of the issues, it might be worth checking back on it in January when they've done some updates to it. Or just freeze the timers sometimes. Whatever works. Step back in a few weeks for the next video. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all the people keeping me alive. I know it was never an official thing, but I'll bring the credit questions back in the next video. I just had a lot of construction going on around here, and it happened right when I'd be recording for it, so I didn't know what to do about it. And of course, I didn't post any this week since I was thinking about the giveaway thing, so that's my bad. Let's see, announcements. There's not going to be a big end-of-the-year update video thingy like last year. I'm trying to phase out update videos entirely. If it's anything long, I could just type something up on Patreon, set it to public, and then tweet it out, so everyone will know about it, who cares. Elite video early next year? Something Rangers 2 early next year? Figuring out some other games early next year? The next video is still going to be in December, I just I get very busy in December, like I said last year. That hasn't really changed much. Oh, right, the instructional guide video I have not forgotten about. That is also early next year, probably, I'm gonna guess February, since I'm gonna be aggressively going through feedback and all that in the next month or two. Alright, have a good weekend.
Do you know what? Every gift tells a story.